How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Two Summoners podcast. My name's Corby, and I'm joined here by my fantastically handsome, once again, co-host Papa Pike. How we doing, man?
Good man, real good. I blow dry my hair today. It's looking real shiny. No products.
Fantastic.
No products. Who would have
To the
thought?
audio listeners, love us
Yeah.
to death. His hair's looking fantastic. So just
It's
imagine fantastic hair.
We've tried to go with that oceanic theme, right? And I was like, you know what? I'll make my hair look like a wave. So it's just this big, beautiful golden wave of just follicles, just pure
Oh,
follicles. So
what
for
a word
yes,
picture you've got there,
oh
man.
look, we got to start doing it for them. We had some feedback saying let's give the listeners, the audio listeners, 3 claps if you love us. That we need to give you a bit more detail. So I've got a nice stubbly beard going. No beard oil today,
Mm.
sadly, so it's not shining. I'm looking fresh to death. I've had a great day. Corvy, however, it's beautiful, man. It's just looking prime.
Ah,
It sucks that he has a girlfriend because I would date the
stop
hell
it.
out of that.
Stop it there. You're too kind. How's your week been, Pike? What have you been up to, man?
Well, mate, just going through the motions, eh? I actually got a call today. I'm looking for a new job, which is
I
really
am.
cool. And I got a call for these people called me. I applied for them this morning, and they called me back within like 4 hours. So I've got an interview next week. I'm cheering.
Dude.
Yeah, so I've got some big things in the works. Hopefully get back to some graphic design work. As the unfortunately the audio listeners can't see, but for all you YouTube podcast listeners out there, you can actually see we've made some updates to the podcast itself. We're going to keep making little updates as we go, trying to make it as beautiful as possible for you audio listeners. Colby, what are you describing here?
For what they can see. Well, audio listeners, I love you to death, by the way. We have little animations going on now, and we have the episode number, we have the gossip, the whatever comes up, it
Mhm.
shows our logo, everything. Papa Pike's done a pretty good job with all the animations and stuff. So you're getting back into doing graphic design work, man.
Yeah, so well, I've got my degree in graphic design, and I was like, well, I may as well actually
Yeah, bloody use that
just
thing.
use it. And the job that I applied for today, like, it is some bloody fucking cash money, dude. Like, I will be attending every single like dream hacks, every single fucking PAX because it is a stacked gig, and I'm
Oh
like,
shit,
you know
yeah,
what?
dude.
Deal. I'll if I'm getting an interview, I'm real fucking good at interviews, guys. If you can't tell by said podcast, audio listeners, you could probably tell too, even without seeing the sparkle in my eye, which there is one. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to these interviews because
Man,
it's not
no,
hard.
no, congrats, dude. I'm
Thanks,
I'm
man.
happy for you.
But
Hopefully
how
you
are
get them.
you? How are you,
Oh,
Colby? What have you been
me?
up
Oh,
to?
me?
Yeah.
No, I'm doing good, dude. For those who don't know, Dark and Darker game is back on playtest slash demo, and I love that
Mm,
game. So I'm playing that right now on stream, just
nice.
streaming, hanging out, working myself, and yeah, final semester of uni for me. So after that, I'm
Ooh.
done.
Wait, what do you study?
Software engineering.
I hate
I'm a
you.
nerd.
Yeah. Mate, we'll go start our own League of Legends with
Dude, no, with
blackjack
software
and
and like
hookers. You know what?
software and design, we're done.
We're
League of
good.
Legends 2 is finally out,
Dude,
baby.
yeah. It's the Overwatch release where we're going to bring out a whole new map, couple new champions, guys. Don't worry about it. And then we're not going to give you the one feature that we said we'd promise until next year anyway. So don't worry about it. Overwatch 2, guys. League of Legends 2 coming to a screen near you. Um,
That's
well, Kobe,
awesome. Oh,
that's
we've
sick,
also
man.
had more people reach out to us in DMs, and
Yes.
they've submitted some clips. We'll be playing one of them today. Don't forget, guys, if you want to reach out with like clips,
Mm,
games, or like anything, or even if you have some questions that you want us to answer, DM either Papa Pike or I on Twitter
yep.
or Discord. We'll put them in our chat and we'll talk about which ones we want to chuck on the pod.
Yeah, we actually got a really good one from a streamer as well, which is really exciting because I love seeing streamer clips over other
Mm.
ones because you get a little bit more with those. Like if you get a cool game clip, yeah, it's nice. So if you are a streamer or you can get your webcam or some sort of reaction that we can see too, that is phenomenally better. Unless you're an audio listener and then you just get to listen to it. But we're going to try and talk you through it a little bit more and give you as much detail as possible. So we'll probably end up watching it, reacting to it, and then probably running over the play and judging it really severely. Do you think that's a good idea, Corby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I also love my pastime is I love, especially when people like raid me on Twitch when I'm live. I love judging people's streams, man. I go on their channel when they raid me. I do this thing called First Words with Corby. If you raid me, I go to your channel. I skip to a random place in your like most recent broadcast, and we see what your first word is. We do gambling. 9 times out of 10, it's a swear word if they're playing League of Legends.
You won't
So
see
yeah,
that on
if
my
you're
stream.
yeah, yours will be just like, I play Fizz.
Yeah.
I play Aurelia. I played Aurelia and I entered recently. I shouldn't have done it. You unknowingly made me play Aurelia.
So the old term, audio and podcast listeners, is an influencer. Funnily enough,
Shut
I think I've nailed that on the head.
because like we needed AD in the league in the comp, so I'm like, man, what AD champion should I play? Usually I play GP, but for some random reason my brain's like Aurelia.
Yeah, if Pike can play it, Corvi can play it. That's the
Oh
simple truth.
man,
Nah,
I went like 3-6. I played terribly.
Dude, I actually came off the best Cassiopeia game just before too. Like I'm trying to
Yeah?
branch out, and I was like, I was gonna play Fizz, right? Gonna play Fizz before we get into the LCO and all the round robin stuff as well. I was gonna play Fizz, and then they picked Lissandra, and I was like, well, I can't fucking play that anymore because she's just gonna spit in my mouth and then suck it back out. So I was like, okay,
Ew.
I'll play Cassiopeia. Still new to the champion. I'll give it a whirl, dude. I went something like, I can't even check it right now, but I went like 11 and like 5 or something, and I was one-shotting their bot lane, both of them.
Yeah.
Double kills, one-shotting. Just sitting, I was camping. I was literally that dirty COD player that sits in a bush and waits for them to just walk in, and then you
What,
just hit them with an
Cassiopeia
ulti.
scream?
Yeah. They're frozen. I was like, eat shit. And then they're just
Jump
dead.
scare.
And I was like, sweet. And then we just ended off a really good Baron. I was like, fuck you guys. Trying to
Damn.
camp. They camp my
Played a
lane
bit
so
of
hard. Viego, Lissandra camping my lane at like minute 3. I was like, you fuckers. You deserve to lose. But okay, Corvi, before we get to our awesome interview, which we haven't really teased a little bit of yet, but we do have our first interview of the podcast ever. It's a bit of a big one too, eh?
Yeah, kind of happy that we actually got. I honestly, I thought one of the first ones we would get was just a streamer or something because I feel like they're more comfortable to reach out. But what we got's pretty interesting. I'm kind of happy to get into that. A little bit more on that later. But before we dive into who it is, let's talk about the fact that the LCO finally finished the round robin and the standings of who's in what group is finally out there. How do you feel the round robin went, man?
For the podcast, you know, I'm gonna be really brutal. I want to be as honest as possible for you guys. I want you to get my honest opinion. I think it's fucking trash. I think it's so shit the way that they've handled this whole situation. And don't get me wrong, I love the LCO. I want to work for the LCO. Like that's a goal of ours. We want to get to the top. But the way this was handled solely around peace has ruined this round robin, has ruined the standings, and I just feel like it is so hard to get a balance here. Like we've got Direwolves versus Peace coming up, which is top team versus bottom team. And it's just, but Peace is looking so good. So there's a whole nother side to that, Corvi. So I'm a little bit angry, but at the same time, I just love watching the LCO. It's always fun to watch Skimmy and Rusty just having a good laugh on cast and Kitty coming in with some crazy interviews. But I don't know. I don't know what to make of these standings, but I'll pass it over to you because I'll just keep getting angry and my red hair can't catch fire yet.
Yeah, true. No, I 100% agree with you. We'll be talking about it more on the second half of the podcast. We're going to split it up into 2 halves. The first half's going to include the interviewer, and after that, we'll talk more about this. But I just wanted to, we've rounded up and we've finished the best of ones. And yeah, you're right. There's Group A and Group B.
Yep.
Chiefs are put into Group B with Team Bliss, Kanga, and GZ, which I feel like is the best thing for Chiefs right now because they're not looking the best, which again, we'll talk about later. Stick around.
Yep.
And Direwolves pulled out amazing wins against
dude.
teams they probably shouldn't have win against. And they rose to the top of the rankings, and their reward for all of that hard work is to verse Peace, which played this week for the first time, looked sick as.
Dude,
so
they came out of nowhere. Well, I guess it's not so much they came out of nowhere. They just didn't have the visa that was standing behind them. But they have, and before we get into it, I'll just leave it on this. But the note that today's episode, guys, is there is no peace. Purely because we're angry, but at the same time, Peace just wasn't there, and now they're like a top tier team.
Yeah, they're looking really good, man. So we'll see how Group A rocks out because it's got Direwolves, Peace, PGG, 3 of the top 4 teams, and then they have Mammoth. And with that, we can funnily announce that we have who as our interviewee today.
We have Maka, who is actually the general manager of Mammoth, who's actually reached out to me saying, let's jump on. I'd love to be on. He's a podcast listener, so 3 claps for you, my friend. You're going to be listening to this one later. Mate, you're a beautiful man. We're going to pause and we're going to come right back with Maka. So stay tuned, guys. It'll be 2 seconds.
See you soon.
Thank you for that cheeky little pause. It was just a slight blip on your screen, but it was quite a long pause for us as we were just waiting to get it all rocking and rolling. But we have Maka, who's just above me, looking fierce as always in that Mammoth jersey. How are you doing, my man?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah,
It's good to be
All good,
here.
man.
mate. First
Yeah.
guest off the bat. Like, how does that feel?
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I mean, this came about very, very quickly. I know
Mm,
I got asked to reach out to you, and it happened like maybe over the course of a day, and you're
yeah.
Oh,
like,
you
all right,
got
let's do
asked
it.
to. You got asked
Well,
to. Wait, who reached out to you?
our scrum manager.
Your
Uh,
scrim manager.
Oh,
yeah.
Who's the scrim? You have to name drop. Who's the scrim
Okay,
manager?
okay. It was darkness. He was in your stream, and he was like, yeah, like he said we should get someone from Mammothon. I don't know if this is cap or not, but I was like, all right,
yeah.
I'll message him and see. And so yeah, just went from there.
Sweet.
I do actually remember that Darkness being in stream saying we should all get some people together. I was just like, mate, let's hook that up. So you reaching out to me was the best thing that could have happened because everyone we keep reaching out to just seems to ignore me. I'm not sure about Corby. No, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I've got about like 4 or 5 people lined up, but I was actually just keen to get Macca because you actually have probably the best title that we sort of want to talk to is a general manager, someone who's in charge and running it all. But yeah, so we've got some questions for you. I think you've got a couple for us, but I think Corby, let's kick it off and see what Mac is up to.
All right, sure. Well, first off, one thing. Well, introduce yourself. What's your job?
Yeah.
What do you do? Tell me about you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm Maka. I have been working for Mammoth for just over a year now. I started in like Feb, probably this time last year. And I jumped on as like their sponsorship and deliverables person. Joined the team. Shiv got me on board. Shout out Shiv, great guy.
No, blow your
And then
kiss.
it,
We love Shiv. What a
yeah,
guy.
man, I heckin' love that guy. Wow. But yeah, I did that for until like August last year, and then things slowed down because of LCO.
Mm.
And then sort of like November, December last year, he reached back out. Was like, hey, like let's get the ball rolling again. I was like, sweet, I'm down. And so yeah, jump back on board. So me and Arcane, as he's known in the community, or Adrian, my boy Adrian, we're sort of the two staff members currently in Mammoth. So like officially we go like 50-50 for jobs, but for like legal purposes and all that stuff, I take the GM role, but I'm not much of a GM just because we need one. But like yeah,
Yeah.
all like the socials and everything sort of shared between the two of us. So
All right.
Cool.
yeah.
So I think that's probably a good way to start. Is you've sort of described a GM, just sort of running maintaining the day to day sort of for the team. Like sort of break down what you and Adrian would actually be doing. Like on a sorry, I had to do it. Literally when you said Adrian, it's just like I'm putting some Rocky in there for sure.
Yeah, I mean
But
definitely needed, you know.
yeah. So like on a day to day, what would you be doing to be supporting Mammoth, right? Like let's walk through it at like just from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
Yeah, well, 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock's like my daytime job, so
Okay.
not a lot of Mammoth in there, but
I'd be doing it.
it is yeah, it is looking after my players. I
Yep.
got one sort of pesky player. You might know him. He's called Voice. Bit of a baby rager sometimes,
Mhm.
so got to handle his stuff. No, but it's pretty much just communicating with the players, like organizing like scrims for them is what I help doing. Not so much the league team, but like our Val team that we just picked up. I
Yep.
organize like international scrims, regional scrims for them. So that's sort of like the easy stuff I can do at my job, and then
Mm.
sort of outside of that, it's all where all the you know the fun stuff happens. So it's like
Yeah.
yeah, organizing the team for the upcoming week, making sure all the players are happy and staff are happy and that everything's sort of on track and
Mm.
that like Shiv, Adrian or Arcane and myself are all on the same page of where you know especially at this time like it's like monthly planning for us, sort of like
Yeah.
where we want to take Mammoth over the course of February, March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Was Arcane in any other like amateur scene like 2 years back or something? Why is his name so familiar to me?
Yeah, I mean, it would be like, and it would be for a few people that listen because he is very, like, kept under wraps, but he does a lot of the hard work in the background. So he's
Mm.
done graphics for lots of the amateur stuff, especially League.
Yes.
So you would have seen his fire graphics, whether it be some sock or any of the other stuff, some Avalanche graphics he's done, all the LFTs that went out at the end of last year from not even, like, not only our players, but like everyone else's, like all our video content for other people he's done and Augury brands. So he's a machine in the scene.
I've
Yeah,
worked with
damn.
him.
He's done heaps.
I've worked with him before. Me and
Yeah,
him actually did some
I think you
editing
would have.
together. Yeah, for
Yeah.
Avalanche. Me and him, I coordinated.
I think I've
how
worked
I
with him with
worked.
Weekend Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Dude, he's
Oh,
everywhere.
God.
The man's
Yeah,
got
he's
his
a
foot in
king.
all doors. I love that. Okay, well, I wanted to quickly talk about let's break it down into like the LCO now. I still want to talk about your position because I'm actually really curious as for people and our audio listeners and all those people out there who want to start
Love you to
making,
death.
yeah, want to get into, we love you to death, that want to get into esports, LCO, and pro gaming, right? Like, I want to talk about what do you think of like the management as a standpoint for the LCO? Like, yeah, I sort of want to break that down. Corby, do you have anything to add on to that question?
Yeah, I kind of just like I know what it is for the players because I know a bunch of players that play for Gravitas because as my into the LCO like last split, as great as they did.
Mm.
But for management, what's that like with LCO and how you
Yeah.
liking it?
Yeah, it's good, but it's also really new for me because we had someone else was running it last year, and yeah, so she kind of kept it under wraps on her side of things. But
Is
I've
that
taken
Brittany?
over. Yeah, she's yeah, so the new Bliss team manager. So she did it for us last year. I'm just gonna put a little side thing out there that I got to be very careful with what I say
Yep.
because I'm on the NDA with both Mammoth and LCO/Riot Games.
Yeah,
Alright,
So
yeah.
we'll do our best.
yeah, I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability without
Yeah.
leaking stuff. But pretty much it's like um directing with like coordinating with the ESL staff, especially over the last especially last week when we had those bans against us for bug
Mm.
breaking. Like there was a lot of back and forth between me and the ESL staff and Riot Games doing that stuff. It's making sure that my players and the team, especially coaches, are all following the guidelines and the contracts because there's stuff in the LCO contracts that the players have to abide by. So I got to make sure that if ESO asks you to do an interview, that you do the interview sort of
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
But I mean they're super chill, really really good to work with. So yeah, it's really nice working with ESL and the LCO.
I feel like someone has a gun to your head while you're saying that.
Someone's actually behind
I
that
love
curtain.
ESL.
There's actually
They
someone
are the
behind it,
greatest.
and they're just pointing this gun, and it's just like they're just whispering in the background. Shh! Don't do it.
No, I want to
fucking
shout out
NDA.
to yeah, I want to shout out to okay, please forgive me. Sorry if I say her name wrong, but Ashling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen her as
Ashling?
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a lot of back and forth between me and her, and she is putting in so much like hard work behind the scenes that not a lot of people see. Like she is
Mhm.
really, really running the show, and so it's a lot of back and forth between me and her, and she's like been amazing because like obviously I've been in the role for like less than a month sort of thing, but she's like helped me so much. Like I can message her at any time of day and be like, hey, like
Wow.
what do I need to do here, and she'll get back to me like almost instantly. So yeah, she's a machine.
That's
So you
awesome.
weren't a part of like any teams or anything in 2022? It's just all this year?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was part of Mammoth last year, but I stepped. I mean, I wasn't directly involved with the team stuff. It was more like the commercial side of things. But yeah,
Commercial? What do you mean there?
oh, like doing the sponsorships and partnerships and the higher order stuff, I guess.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Could you break that down a little bit for us? I guess for people who do want to maybe take more of a back seat in pro gaming, this is
Yep.
definitely an opportunity for people. Like let's break this down. Like how would someone get into this position?
Yeah, so the way it happened for me is Shiv, and I found this out through Twitter. So I got this whole thing started through Twitter,
Mhm.
and I was not a big
Lifeblood.
Twitter user, not a big Twitter user at all, which is completely swapped now. But Shiv put out a thing on Twitter saying, "Hey, I'm looking for social media people. Like, hit me, shoot me a DM." And so I shot him a DM. I was like, "Hey, like I'm interested," because I was doing socials for sporting clubs I've worked for and whatnot. And so yeah, I shot him a DM. I was like, "Hey, like, I'd be interested." He got back to me, and then like it sort of went dark, and I heard nothing. And
Mm,
then February last year, he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, like, I've seen some of the other stuff you have on your like resume or whatever." Or we had a meeting, I think, to talk about it. And he's like, "I'd like to bring you on board as like the sponsorship person." And I was like, "Oh, cool!" Like, and I was more than happy to do it for free. He did pay me, which is awesome. But yeah, that's how I like got my foot in the door.
Damn.
For that, it was literally just like DMing him through Twitter,
yep.
pretty
That's
much.
a random stumbling into it, huh? That's
Yeah,
kind of
it was
awesome.
so weird.
It's
Yeah, I
actually
was like, I'll shoot my shot and see what happens.
Dude, that's actually the biggest thing I've found, and this is what we've heard on other podcasts as well. Like I know other streamer podcasts, also shoutcaster podcasts and stuff all over the world. Everything that they say is directly to that is just send someone a message. You never know what they're gonna say. Like there is always a chance that they're like, yeah, we need someone else to help out with that, and you just build your way from there. So I think you're right. Twitter is the lifeblood, man. I've found like I'm
Mm.
exactly the same. I only just started using Twitter probably just at the end of last year, just being
You
like,
like
oh,
all
let's
my
just
stuff. I love it.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's the whole point. Like, you got to like everyone's shit. Like, if you're not a bit of a like a heart whore, you're not doing Twitter right. You
For
know what I
sure, for
mean?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting your name out there. But no, I
Mm.
love hearing that because then it means if you want to get out there, Twitter is a really good place to actually just network, which is
Mm.
esports. You need to be in cahoots with people. You need to get your name out there and be known. It's the only way you can really move forward. So I love hearing that, man. I love hearing that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you're actually 100% right with that last comment. Like like I tell this to all the players and especially our Val team because like our Val team are young guys, right? Young kids like really new to the scene.
Mm.
And I say this to Arcane and Adrian, or Arcane
Adrian.
slash Adrian. Yeah, like I say to him like you need to start like marketing yourselves as players.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Mhm.
you hit a nice clip on Val, right? You post it,
Yep.
you retweet what Valorant's doing, you hit clips, you retweet wins, like you comment after every game, you drop statuses, Arcane's needs to drop graphics and stuff. It's just how you get your name out there in the scene,
Yep.
and sort of move up in the OC ecosystem, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I've noticed that with a bunch of things, and it's not about like, yeah, you can play in the LCO, you can play as a Valorant team, but you need to build something off that. Because if you're away for a split or for a season, I don't know what it's called in Valorant pro scene, but if you're away for a while and you haven't posted anything, even when you were a pro
Mm.
player, no one's going to see the fact you were one in 6 months' time. No one's
Yeah.
going to care almost in OC because it's a small region. You need to start posting your wins, start getting your name in the door. Everyone needs to be thinking about what you've been doing, whether you're playing or not playing. And someone who is playing right now that's done a decent job of that, who's been bench warming for fucking
That's
years,
just about to say
is
this.
who's playing Bliss,
Yeah.
who's playing for Bliss now, rather, is Why Not. He's
Why
done a
not?
great job promoting himself and building himself like as an online like creator or entertainer or whatever. Now he's playing, and there's a lot more eyes on him. More people are talking about him. His names are coming up even in this podcast because he's done such a good job marketing himself as a player.
Yeah.
So it's something very important. That's a good point, man.
Yeah, no, spot on. I agree.
I think on following off from that, and this is going to be more tailored, I'm going to say towards Mammoth now, because I want to start talking about Mammoth in the off season, current season, all that sort of stuff. We'll start getting into a bit of the nitty gritty sort of stuff. Do you think Mammoth has some opportunity there for their players to maybe start marketing themselves a bit more? Like, we know the names, we know the players, but is there a plan in place from Mammoth's point of view that is, hey, let's start to build that a good rep. Let's get you guys in the limelight a bit more. We want people to say, hey, that's voice playing for Mammoth. Like, is there a plan in action for that? Have you guys looked into that at all, or is that something you're trying to focus on, just getting a foundation going?
Yeah, I mean, so when we go to them with like the contracts and whatnot and stuff, we do talk about it, and we literally lie it all out on the table, and we're like, look,
Mm.
we're an org. Like priority for us is you guys, right? The players.
Yeah.
Like that's our priority. So we've got in there, like you message Arcane, and that guy's a bit of a gremlin, so he stays up at some whack hours. But like you can message Arcane anytime. He'll make you graphics to put up. He'll like do victory stuff for you. He'll do stats for you. He'll do streaming stuff for you. He'll do overlays and all that stuff. So we do try and provide the tools for the players to use. But I mean, it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you
Yeah.
can't make it drink,
Yeah.
right? Like so
True.
we give them all the tools and the resources that they can utilize. And some of them have, don't get me wrong, some of them have, but like a prime example of this would be Split 2 last year, where we had Paprise on our team.
I like
Great guy.
Paprise.
Paprise is
I
a
love
king.
Paprise.
Yeah, and LPL actually shared one of his plays from LCO on their broadcast in front of 60,000 people, and they tweeted it as well.
Jesus.
That's fun.
And I said to him, I was like, Papyrus, like, why aren't you retweeting this or quote tweeting it? And he's like, oh, I just don't care. It doesn't bother me. But it's like it's stuff like that. Like especially even now that the LCO are posting clips. Like for example, the Entrust missing the entire wave top on Ash. Like it's funny as fuck, but like it would get great engagement, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
it's stuff like that like they provide the tools for you. Like why not? It's so easy to go onto Twitter and hit one button and retweet it, and you're marketing yourself.
Actually, 100% facts. Now, for all LCO players that could be listening, think about it this. You have a cannon minion wave there. Why aren't you farming it? Farm the wave, dude. Farm your socials, farm the Twitters, like any engagement. It's IRL farming, dude. Just
Yeah.
get that income, get that engagement up, dude. No, you're 100% right. To think of the fact that he didn't even follow up on the fact that LPL, oh god, that's cringe. Anyway, well, we have some harder questions here, man.
Oh yeah, hit me. I'm
And
all
I
ears.
want to get into them.
Mm.
One thing just before we get into them is, were you a part of any recruitment process before the season began, and how hard was it to get players?
Uh, let's turn before the season into before slash the season.
Mhm.
Um, and yes, towards the very end of roster lock, yes. And sorry, what was the second part of that again?
And how hard was it to get players? Like, was it a competition?
Yeah, extremely. I am so shocked at the state of the Oceanic League scene. It baffles me. I think my mindset coming into this year, so like November sort of to now where we are, was purely like maybe more of a traditional sports sense,
Mm.
like playing for your football team or your AFL team or whatever, right? Where you try to compete to be at the top, right? That's what you want to do.
Mm.
And if, say for example, I'm playing, third grade or fourth grade football, and if I was given a chance to compete at the top in first grade, like I would trial and want to give it a go,
Mm.
right? Like
Mm.
and there's players in the scene that don't, because maybe their friend isn't in the team, or their friend didn't get asked to trial, or they weren't happy with
Wow.
how the trials are
Mm.
run and whatnot. And I'm not going to name players, but there's one person in the scene in particular that stuck their hand into our process, and pardon my French, but they fucked it for us big time.
Ooh.
Mm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
We definitely won't name drop that. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
fair.
yeah. Are they currently competing
I'm
in
not going to
LCO?
say, but they know exactly who they are.
Mm.
And I've held my tongue for the last 2.5 months on it. But yeah, that player really fucked us over. So
So if you are listening, that player, just so you
Yeah, fuck
know,
you.
eat shit. Yeah,
Interesting.
okay. That's really interesting. So yeah, I kind of want to break that down a little bit more, but it's probably
yeah,
worth
sure,
moving
let's
on
do
as
it.
we probably can
No,
move
no,
into
let's
some.
let's do it.
You want to break
I
that
think
down?
yeah, I mean, if you guys want, like,
I want to
as I
know.
said to you, yeah, as I said to you in DMs, like, hit me
Yeah.
with all the questions, because it's a
Okay.
good platform that I can get sort of Mammoth's perspective out there,
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah,
not no
we're
opportunity.
about to get into some.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut
Yeah,
you off, but we're about to get
Yeah.
into
no,
some tough questions.
100%.
You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. So do you
All
want to
right.
talk more about the roster situation, or do you want to head on to yours
Do
first,
Oh no,
Corky?
let's go roster.
we'll go
We'll follow this
roster.
train of thought.
I like the roster talk because I want to talk more on you sort of like the best example that I can probably give you right now is we saw a bunch of publicity for like the Chiefs, and they had their scouting grounds, right? That was blasted everywhere. They did I think personally they did a really good job of marketing that. But for other teams, I didn't really see too much of that. I feel like it was a bit under wraps because we are quite small. Is it because the circuit is that small that you don't need to be so out there with it? I think that's where I sort of want to look a little bit, because if there is trouble in the back end of players not wanting to play, I guess really, let's jump the question entirely.
Sure.
What is the way we change that? How what is your perspective on how we can increase players wanting to play?
Okay, so the when you mentioned Chiefs and them doing their scouting grounds and whatnot, also Chiefs did really, really, really good. Like, I watched the whole thing; it was
Mm.
really well done. Great opportunity for players to get their names out. It was really good. I only know of a few other teams that ran trials, but in terms of selecting teams and players in the scene, there is a huge stigma of picking friends. It's who you know,
Mm.
not how well you play. So that
Okay.
is that. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize this, and I
Mm.
didn't realize this until 4:59 p.m., a minute before roster lock was due. But it's a lot about who you know, and if you don't pick him over there or him over there, then I'm not playing for you.
So
Um,
pre-built chemistry is
Wow.
huge instead of building new chemistry. It's all about pre-people. Like when I say pre-built chemistry, it's like, oh, I've played with him before, we've talked before, I like him, I'll join the team, instead of wanting to build something.
yep, 100%.
That's
Wow.
interesting.
That is, I personally myself, I'm gonna give you my honest opinion. Audio listeners, prepare for a bombshell. It's like I hate that. Like if I've got my best mate, but I know he's hot trash, I'm not bringing him onto my team. I love winning too much. Like I'm playing to take over the scene. So the fact
Mm.
that there is this these niche little, they're literally just cliques, man. They're just cliques of players coming together, and there's strong arming an organization because they're
Fuck's
like, nah,
sakes.
that's what I'm gonna do. Oh, I think that's just appalling. I think
Yep.
that just shows the mentality of O's. Like, that's showing probably why we can't get past a group stage at Worlds, right? Like, we're all just playing with our best friends and just having a good yarn. Nah,
Who the
man.
fuck cares at that
Dude,
stage, bro?
it's like, just fucking play. We're here to see pro League of Legends for the region. The team should be built off the best fucking players we have.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, you've nailed it, right? Like, I came into the scene and I heard that and I almost threw up in my mouth. I was like, that is disgusting. Like, you would rather spend another year in amateur playing with your friends than be given a platform in LCO to compete, even though people think, and yes, after our O2 week, like, we are one of the bottom performing teams, it still gives you a platform to get your name out there and to move on, right? So, for example, let's look at, Brittany, which was up last year. She's now managing Bliss, right? Ash, coaching Ground Zero. Tron, playing in Ground Zero. And, like, that's just recent. Like, you go back, like, further, like, Babip played on Mammoth, Destiny played on Mammoth, King played on Mammoth, Triple, and Fudge. Like, our org may look shitty now, but we've had a platform and a foundation put in place for years. Like Goodo as well. Goodo played for us. Shinky played for us. And they're all using us as a stepping stone to move up, which is fine, right? That's what you want to do. You want to aspire to be at the top. But like, these players won't even take that risk because it may make them look, I don't know, worse if they're on a lower team, I guess. And so they just revert back to, oh well, I'm going to play an amateur for another year with my friends.
Yeah, and to touch on that, with people not wanting to play on like they want to play on like an amateur team, but they want to play on like the greatest team. No one ever has gone from being unrecognized, unknown solo queue degenerate to being the top of the league picked up by Chiefs. That is a bullshit way of thinking about the league, and I 100% agree with you, because like, these people literally on your team today, or over the last 4 weeks of being playing, or 3 weeks rather, their literal faces and their heads and their names have been plastered in front of 7,000 people. Win or lose, that is a fact.
Yeah.
And to the fact that they are undermining that because they want to stay in solo queue for another year just fucks me over. That makes me kind of mad. Plus, you went overseas. Your org went overseas, dude. The like in the chat were mad. I know you've changed it. That's why I keep saying on Twitter. But MEC now. But like, you've been overseas as an org. Granted, you might think of yourself, and I hate when orgs put themselves down to a point where they think themselves as a stepping stone, because don't forget, you are the end goal for some people. Like, you may, who knows, like Kenga took down a big team recently, which is a huge upset. I'd like to get your thoughts on that as well. Who the fuck knows? You may end up top 5, top 7, top whatever. You might end up top 1. Who cares? But that is a fact that could happen.
Yeah.
If you're playing if you're playing an amateur, that dice roll can never happen.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
to tie it back, sorry for the rant.
No, all good.
What do you think about the Kanga versus Chiefs upset, by the way?
No, I think it's about time, and I think it's also good that it shows Chiefs' weaknesses as well. I think it's really healthy for the scene, because if Chiefs won that game, right, you'd have, again, top 4, bottom 4, like, split pretty heavy, right?
Yeah.
And right, I mean, you can't really count Peace. They're kind of like hot at the moment. They're looking really good. They'll be up there too. But yeah, I mean, the Kanga versus Chiefs game, I was surprised that they put Mayfan on Amumu. I've been kind of surprised the picks they've been putting him on the last few games. But it's finally good to see them all click, because they had high expectations, right? I mean, they were voted way higher than us, way higher than Ground Zero, and some of their individual players were rated higher, which is good. Plus, like, it's always good to see Mayfun get a win, right? Even if he's not on Mammoth. And Dar as well. Dar's a social guy. He ran some socials for us last year. Yeah, Dar. So it was good that he could finally get a win. But it was good.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Papa Pike, do you want to start the questions from 4 onwards? We'll get into the tough ones.
I think we're going to start getting into some tough ones. So,
Yeah.
so prepare yourself, Macca. But you don't, have to be,
good.
don't have to be too prepared, but prepare yourself.
Yeah, we're chilling.
So the big questions we want to start getting into as we get into the nitty gritty stuff. What exactly happened with the removal of the bans from that game? There was a lot of Twitter controversy going out. There was a couple speculations. I personally think the Masons were involved or the Illuminati, but there's
I thought it
quite a
was
lot of
Rise.
speculation. Yeah. I'm putting Arcane, but then I think it was Jinx from Arcane who was impacting it the most. But we don't worry about that. But what happened with these bans? Like, can you just break it down for us? Can you give us some insight?
Yeah. Okay, let me give me 1 sec 'cause I want to say something, but I
Be
okay,
political.
so the ESL sent out a bug list, right? And a list of rules. It happens every year. What you guys can do, what you can't do, like some bugs and stuff in the game that they call it exploits, which is fine, right? We were told on the Monday game against PGG, there's a bug, right, where if you get Herald and spawn it and then trinket straight away, it refreshes your trinket cooldown. That's a bug exploit you're not allowed to do, which is fine, right? It's part of the rules. So Akano, big solo queue player, he does this every single solo queue game. So going into it, you need to think about this guy plays like 5, 6 solo queue games a day, doing that constantly. So it's almost like a habit, right? Like you drop Herald, you trinket to sweep, right? So
Muscle memory.
it's a habit. Yeah, it's literally the first time he did it was muscle memory. Now he did it on the Monday game against PGG, and if you exploit to get a competitive advantage, which is part of the rules that they put out, then you get a punishment, which is fine, right? It's you break a rule, you get a punishment.
Yeah.
The thing that got me a little annoyed was that 3 teams did it the week before. I watched all the VODs of all the games. 3 teams did it the week before and were apparently issued punishments. But as I just said, I watched all the VODs and none of them lost bans. I don't know. I don't know who the teams were that did it. Um, all I know is that 3 LCO
Ah.
teams did it. None of them lost bans. Right, first time
Oh
it happened,
my.
but apparently they were punished, which is fine. Right, it's whatever. We do it for the first time. Akano does it. First time we lose 2. Now I reached out and was like, oh, is there like can I fight? Is there criteria? Like whatever. And pretty much it's up to Riot's decision. That's fine, no worries. So that was it. Then they show you what the instances where the bug is actually exploited. And they sent us 2 clips in. The first one, I understand, yes, 100%. Akano swept and got a trinket or something, and then I think dove bot and we killed them or whatever. And then the second one, like sweeper was dropped, and then there were no wards swept, so there was
No
like
competitive advantage.
it was he did it in the mid lane when he dropped Rift Herald mid lane. I remember it was, and then swept, but he only swept the lane which had been swept before, so there was no competitive advantage there. But again, ESL rule it. I say okay, no worries. So we lost 2 bans. That's fine. Whatever. We were confident we could beat Kanga anyway, and we did. So heading into the Kanga game, we Akano did it again. So when Akano
So it was the same thing.
yeah. So it's the same thing, but Akano knew he did it wrong and he recorded it because he sent it to us after and he messaged the ESL referee after saying, "Hey, just letting you know, I've done the bug again. I swept, but he waited 3 minutes to trinket cooldown before doing the other sweeper." So, and we did bring this to ESL and they decided on it or whatever, which is fine, whatever. But he waited the 3 minutes it took for the actual trinket to cool down, even though it was cooled down already. He sat and waited 3 minutes before using it again. So that. However, in that clip that they did send us, he did sweep after it and was able to clear what do you call it? Bot try brush. So he got a ward out of it, and then I think yeah. I mean, oh no, that was against and then we were playing Chiefs, so nothing. Yeah, or Kanga, I think. Yeah, that was the Kanga game where we lost 2 bans, and then he did it in there, and he swept bottom try brush, I think it was, and got a ward. But again, and then the ESL
Then he lost
referees messaged
5
us
bans.
later and was like, "Hey, just letting you know, like you've lost 5 bans," and I was like, "Okay, is there any chance we can maybe like." I don't know, get one less, right? Because we're against the fucking Chiefs, we're gonna get steamrolled. And they were like, no, sorry, it's like being decided upon. And I was like, okay, cool, no worries. Like that's the rules. You got to follow them. The players are very well aware of that. And we didn't do it against the Chiefs all this week, so we're in the clear.
Well
But
done.
on the social aspect of that, because there are a lot of people that were commenting on it.
Yes.
And I do want to touch on it because
Rusty
I'm
being
sure you
one of
guys.
them.
Yes, I mean that guy's got a vendetta against us, and yeah. Anyway,
We'll go into that
on,
later.
on the social situation, right? You got to think of it from not like the league's point of view, but from like my point of view and Arcane's point of view, right? We run the socials. Like we've just been told that we're playing Chiefs, and we got told like maybe 11 or 12 that morning. So we had like a few hours because our game was at 6. It was the first one. We've been told that in 5 hours' time we're playing the Chiefs. We have 0 bans and we have to redo our whole draft strategy, which is currently thrown out the window because like Biopanther just gets Jax and Aladora gets Yumi, right? So how do you win? Um, so we, we had to throw that out the window. So I'm sitting here and I've been told we've lost 5 bans, right? Now I let the team handle their team stuff because I'm like, all right, coaches, this is what you're paid to do. You sort your shit out. I'll deal with the stuff online. Rather than going online and like being all apologetic and oh sorry, like we exploited. Don't get me wrong, like we exploited. We like Akano did break the ESL rules. It was wrong, but we were punished already. Right? We lost 5 bans against the Chiefs. We were punished already. Like I'm not going to come and sook about it on Twitter because it's just like people are just going to cry even more.
Yeah.
So I just went on it and I was like, whatever. I'm going to try and turn this terrible situation into a less terrible situation, and you do that by just like using humor or something like that. So I commented,
Okay.
we beat Kanga with 2 bans. Like, look what we can do against Chiefs with, oh,
Yeah.
wait for what we've got installed tonight, sort of thing.
Beating the ass a little, huh?
But like, I mean, like, I don't know what the scene expected me/Mammoth to do about it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it would look so pathetic if I came out and was just like, oh, by the way, like, yeah, we're so sorry. Like, we'll never do it again. Like that's so pathetic. It's like whining. It's like whatever. We'll turn this bad situation into a less bad situation.
At the same time, it probably a little bit of advice for the next time it happens, which will never happen again. Maybe the best thing is it's like the avatar thing where there's like active key and then there's like defensive key. There's also neutral key, dude. Like you can be just like
Yeah.
GG Kanga, good win,
Yeah.
like good opponent. That's it, and just leave it there. There's no need to like. I don't know. It just felt from the average Twitter user, Corby, when I log in, it just felt like you were shitting on him a little. And we're like, well, we lost 2 bans. You should, and yeah, it just didn't feel right. But I understand, and peeking behind the curtain a little bit, I
Yeah.
can understand exactly what you're going for.
Yeah.
It just was, I don't think it was received as the intentions that you had it like to begin with.
Yeah. So just on that, I was talking more about our Chiefs game day tweet. That
Yeah.
one.
Oh, okay.
The intentions behind Kanga were purely to shit on them. Yes, that was purely to shit on them. No, you are 100%
I
right.
respect that
Yeah.
so much more.
It's even better. It's even better.
No, the scrim schedule thing was 1,000,000% all me and me absolutely shitting on them. Yes,
All right.
don't worry.
Okay. All right. Well, now that it wasn't, I kind of respect that more. As
Yeah.
bad as that sounds,
I do.
kinda
You know
respect
the
it back
context
more.
behind it, don't you?
No, I don't.
Tell us.
At all.
Tell us.
I'll give you a quick rundown because I like moved on, and I'm worried that I don't know, whatever Twitter's gonna backlash or whatever. But it was what their owner put out. So it was the Friday before LCO started. So LCO started on Monday. We'd had 2 scrims as a team, as an actual 5-stack. We'd had 2 scrims leading up to LCO. Right? We had planned to scrim Kanga Academy on 7 p.m. on the Friday before LCO started.
Yep.
Right? Dajang had been in South Korea and he'd just gotten back. So we'd finally had a chance to scrim with our actual mid laner. A team put out and are looking for scrim at 5:59 p.m. that Friday, an LCO team. Okay, so our coaches look and they go, okay, we've had 2 scrims leading into LCO. Okay, we either scrim Kanga Academy or we scrim an LCO team, right?
Yep.
That's what it is. And so I said to the coaches, I was like, pick what you want to do. If we can cancel on Kanga Academy, just send them an apology, say sorry, like whatever, we move on, right? Yep. Well, their owner did not like that at all. Which is understandable, right? Like, and it happened to us all fucking last year. Like, scrims would cancel on us like last minute all the time, and it sucked. And I've been there, and so like it's like 6:30 or whatever, or 6:45 on the Friday night. we're planning to scrim the LCO team. We say sorry to Kangaroo Academy, and they just like they blow up. They like lose all their shit. Half of the reason is because they're like some of them trialed for us and wanted to get back at us for whatever happened in the process.
Mhm.
Others are just using it as an opportunity to shit on us because we're a shitty org and everyone just wants to use us, as you say so well, Corby, as a punching bag. And so there I messaged their owner and I was like, hey, like I'm sorry, like it's just like I'm sorry. Like I don't know what else you want me to say. Like our team's gonna scrim the LCO team, and then he went into a thing saying, "Oh, like your manager said, oh, like scrimming an LCO team over an academy team is gonna be better practice," which it is. And then
Facts.
yeah, I
Fair.
mean it just is. And so I'm sitting there. And I spoke to the owner, and I thought it was over, right? I was like, whatever, he's mad, but it's over. Okay, we move on. Um, and then I get a Twitter notification about 45 minutes later, and he's gone on Twitter and cried about it underneath Rusty's post, nevertheless, as well, because that's what you do on a hot shit on Mammoth post. You go and comment again it that we've just cancelled scrims. And then I had like Kang of staff messaging me. I had like people in Discords messaging me, being like, "Wow, Mammoth is so scum! Like you cancelled on our academy team." And I get it, right? Like I apologize. I reached out to some of the players and I apologized. I said, like, sorry, it happens. But from a purely competitive point of view, my team has had 2 LCO scrims heading into LCO, and they play on Monday, okay, against Direwolves, right? They need the best practice they can get, and unfortunately, this LCO team looks better than your academy team does. So we're like, it just doesn't make sense for us to not make the academy team. Sorry, not scrim the LCO team, right? It just from a
How much
pure
notice did you give this
like an
academy team
hour,
before you cancelled?
like an hour.
Holy, okay, an hour notice isn't very much notice.
Okay, we were
Yeah.
only given an hour notice to pick up a scrim anyway, which I agree. It's not a lot of time, and I apologize for it. But like,
Yeah.
I just like I don't know what else they wanted me to say aside from sorry. Like, and then okay, he leaked DMs or whatever, so I'm just gonna say that he semi blackmailed, not blackmailed. He semi said that like, oh well, maybe Kanga will book you guys, but we won't be sure if we'll be able to turn up, etc., etc. And I was like, okay, bro,
Mm.
like I'm just gonna leave this here. You do you. You go and cry on Twitter. And the worst thing about it is the scene knows that scrims get cancelled, right? The scene
All the
just
Yeah.
time.
know that it happens. Not maybe not so the top teams. I doubt Chiefs ever get scrims cancelled on them. But like it happens. Like he can ask his players. Like he can ask Paprice. He can ask Mayfarn. Like it happened to us all the time last year, and we sucked it up and got the fuck over it. And then like yeah, he just comes out and says that, and it's like, man, like I'm sorry, but like it's like I'm backing my coach's decisions. My coaches want to go with this over the Kangaroo Academy. I'm backing them.
Okay, well, I respect you back in your own org's decisions. That shows some balls. Even though there is massive backlash against it, it's nice to see
Yeah,
the fact that you do stick with your coaches overall. Well, you
100%.
touched on it just before, and to move on really quick because this
Mm.
is going pretty long. Look, you said it yourself. I've considered your team, and I've said it out loud that your teams are like the punching bag team,
Yeah.
the free win team of the league. And well, for someone like myself who was backing slashing Gravitas's camp last split, doing content for them, I kind of feel like a similar rhetoric has been spun for that. What was for the Gravitas team is now getting stuck onto Mammoth for some reason whatsoever. Why do you think that is? And why do you think people are underestimating your team?
I mean, I think it's valid, right? Like if people come and say to me like, "Oh, Mammoth is a lower place team," like, I mean, I can't. Like, I'm
Yeah,
not
you
going to
can't
cope here,
deny
right?
it.
It's like I can't say no. Like, look at the leaderboard right now. It's like we're bottom table. Like, yeah, you're valid. Like, even if I go on Twitter and talk a bunch of shit after a win and whatever, like if we lose, like we lose. Like, suck it up. Like, I know that the team didn't play well. But I think especially like heading in and all the roster drama and player ratings heading into it, I felt a little annoyed at our teams, sort of at the way our team was treated, purely because, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but 4 of the 5 players, actually, no, that's a lie. 6 of the 7 players slash staff we have all played on Desire together. So that was an amateur
Mm.
org, and that was Chi Chi, Akano, Voice, Entrust, Sahil, and Cadence, who are our 2 coaches. All
Hmm.
6 of them have played together for years in uni at UTS and for amateur and Desire.
Mm.
So our team chemistry is actually not too bad. Like usually it's not just like 5 no names thrown together, and then we were sitting there, and the coaches were like, okay, we're going to weigh up these 2 mid laners, and so Darjong was keen and he trialed, and I think he was the standout on Grav last year,
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
He was the
And
best player by far.
100%, and he was keen, and we're like, sure, like we'll trial you against the other mid laners we had trialing, and he ended up on the team. So I think you take the best from Grav, right? Because he was a standout from Grav, and he's playing very, very well. Like even
Yeah.
against the Chiefs game, like he was sort of holding his own / beating Kisei at sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
I do
Like
agree with that.
other mid laners, he's held his own against them. And like yeah, I think so. The synergy is there for the team because like they've played for years before. Like Chi and Akano solo / duo queue all the time together, all
Mhm.
the time.
Can
And
I
so yeah,
can I quickly just add into that? Is this coming back a little bit full circle again to what we mentioned very close to the start of this interview? Was we got a lot of best friends playing together after a lot of years. Um, and I'm going to put it into a hard question here now, is
yeah,
like,
yeah,
is
yeah.
this part of the problem now with LCO that you said before, that we have best friends saying we want to play with these players and all that? Are you guys in a similar boat? I know you did say you've chose Dajon because he was the best player. Fair cop, that makes sense. But you said you've got all the same people from previous orgs, previous like player rosters. Like, is this feeding into that same mentality that we keep seeing through other teams? Is there some team that needs to start this off and say, no, we need to start playing for the best roster we can, or has that already happened? I guess is where I'm trying to head with that question.
Um, I would agree with you for us if we weren't forced into it. So we went through uh 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jungle options, and we went through 4 top lane options,
Mhm.
and we were forced into this.
Is that all you
Um,
can
Okay,
say?
yeah, that's
yeah,
all. That's all you can say.
yeah. Or
Shit.
Okay, okay.
well, I mean, it just avoids me like
No,
naming
I get it.
players, and I
That's
don't want
fair.
to name
No,
players and ruin relationships because like I don't want to come out and like slam all the players for their things because some of
no.
them had valid reasons, right? Like don't get me wrong, some of them like we reached out to them, they tried, we did all this stuff, and they were like, look, sorry, I can't because of X, or I can't because of
X.
Y, and I'm like,
Yeah. Okay.
it's fair, right? Like you guys are,
You can't force people to play.
yeah, like you're people, you've got your own lives to live, like go do your thing.
Yep.
But some of them, yeah, just like it's that yeah, whatever, friend mentality. But
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to lead us into one of the last questions we have lined up for you, Maka, which is,
yeah,
and we're going to talk a little about the Gravitas situation. Is the main issue with Gravitas, in both Corvi and Maya's opinion, was the coaching and the lack of support and transparency. For transparency reasons, do you have confidence in the coaching staff to turn the losses into a positive, coachable experience?
yeah, I do. I mean, also the thing that helps is that again, like Sahil or the boosted animal has been, and Cadence as well, have been coaching them for years in the amateur and uni tournaments too.
Mm,
So they know how these players tick. They know what goes wrong. Like and the players respect them too, which is a huge thing, right? You don't want to have a game like the Ground Zero game last night, get them all into a call after, and have the coach absolutely rip them a new one, and the
mm,
players should just like not care, right?
Mhm.
Whereas in the call after it all happened, like Sahil was like, okay, this needs to change, and all the players were like, okay, I respect your opinion, and I listen to that, and I do believe once we get the right formula, because obviously we're not perfect, right? We're sitting in 6th place, like
mm.
and we've got one real win, but I do think that the wins will come for sure against the top teams. Harder, definitely possible. Every League of Legends game is winnable. Um, but yeah, I do have faith, and I sort of have to have faith. Not that I don't, but like I have players and staff and whatever sign the contracts with my full 110% backing in whatever they do.
I
Cool.
like that. I actually am a
That's
fan
good
of
to
that.
hear.
You got to have loyalty at some point. I think that's such a big thing that, as a region, I think Oceania is what Australia, New Zealanders. We are all about that loyalty, with that Ocker lifestyle, where we look after our
Cheer.
mate next to us. So I really respect that, honestly. So I appreciate the mag. It's nice to hear from the horse's mouth that sort of stuff. That is at least happening somewhere in
Yeah.
LCO and esports in Australia and New Zealand. So really well done. But Corby, have we got anything else that you want to add in? Because we've got one more.
Yeah, I have a
Dobby,
couple of questions. We have one more question, but I want to ask something a little bit separate.
Sure.
It comes down to the piece. It's pretty bullshit what's happened there. With group stage been announced, it's come out pretty recently. I have the groups and I sent it in the Quest interviews chat
Yep.
that we have
Yep.
here. What do you think about the Peace chat and Group A? Because that's where you're slotted in. We have Direwolves versus Peace and PGG versus Mammoth. How confident are you versus PGG? One. And what the fuck do you think about Direwolves versus Peace as the first place prize versing Peace?
It's kind of a free group for us, no? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that loss against Grand Zero yesterday really fucked us over. Hey. Anyway, my hot take on Peace is I actually like what they're doing. They're taking a similar approach to us in terms of their socials and presence, right? Whereas they've ignored all the haters and are sticking to their strategy. That's pretty much what they're doing. Like they're getting absolutely dumpstered by the scene, absolutely torn to shreds.
Oh yeah, shit.
But whoever's running their new Peace pages, I think, is doing a good job. And I also, I mean, this is probably a bit of just revenge for Mammoth, but I really like Peace beating Chiefs the other day. It's just like, it's also a good warning sign that like even if teams are at the bottom, there's still a chance to knock off those top teams. And it sends a sort of thing that like, okay, Peace missed the first 5 games or 6 games or whatever, but they are looking hot and people need to be scared of them for groups and stay like split too. But yeah, on the group stage situation, I actually really like the first best of five, sorry, whatever.
Yeah,
best of 5 situation, because like I mean the Direwolves Peace game was an absolute cracker. Like that was such a good league game.
Okay.
Sure, does it suck for Direwolves coming first and having the verse bottom? Yes, 100%.
Okay, we can agree on that.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. But I mean, let's be real. Like they go down to lose bracket and then knock us out and move on, right? So it's fine. More, I mean, yeah, the more games you get to play against better teams, the more you improve. As well, in terms of us against PGG, I think if you if you look at our game against them in like the normal split, if you take just the first 15 minutes and stop the VOD there, like you would think we're winning.
Okay.
like Akano was invading Shernfire, blew a slash level 3, like was giga gapping their bot lane as well, diving bot constantly. We were actually, our early game into PGG was actually really good and productive. The thing that turned the game there was post 15 minutes where we tried to meet them on mid wave, and Chi on Camille was a bit late to that mid lane fight and was wiped before we even got there. I mean, realistically, long term, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because Chippy's Olaf was like kind of cracked and big counter to our entire team. So I think they outdrafted us. But I think, I mean, obviously everyone has us under the, like to get absolutely smashed. Will we lose? Like I'm feeling it. However, I would really, really, really love to stick it to PGG. I think even if we win any of those games, and if we get knocked down to the losers bracket, which people say we might have a high chance of doing, then we just we play that game, whether it be Direwolves or Peace. We actually hope it's Peace that get knocked down.
Literally,
No,
your response right there, it shows a deep understanding of where you're falling apart, and I like that as a little bit of a peek behind the scenes of what you're talking about. Because there's one thing to lose, and the start of your sentence, I'm like, all right, this dude's like fully hyped up on cope. He's like 15 minutes, GG, we're the greatest. But then you tie it in the fact that it's like, okay, well, we fucked up.
Yeah.
And also draft issues.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the fact that you're pinpointing little things or pinpointing things that outside of the first 15 minutes or outside of the game itself that are an issue. And it's actually nice to see that teams are looking at that, and they aren't just someone who came from a team who lost a lot. And this is coming straight from the player's mouth. It really felt like they weren't progressing. And coming from you, then it really feels like you're nailing it on some issues that have happened. So that's decent. So look, dude, I wish you the best of luck versus PGG. I hope to fuck you beat them. Look, underdog teams are always dope to root for. So if you beat them, dope. You know what? In my predictions, I'll take you, dude. You know what? I'll take you in my predictions.
Yeah.
You're gonna tank my stats if you lose, but I'll take you in my predictions. Final
Maybe. I mean, we'll
question,
try
Papa
our
Pike.
best.
Final question. Okay,
Yeah.
this is what I'm actually really excited for, because we want to talk more about these teams, right? I want to talk about as a whole, the LCO. Do you
Yeah.
think any teams, Macca, are overhyped?
Yeah, I think Kanga are very overhyped, unironically, and that's just not me being biased. Like
I kind of
everyone was
agree.
everyone was coming in like hyping them up, and we were saying, and GZ was saying, like these guys. Don't get me wrong, the players on Kanga are good, but in a team environment, I just don't think they mingle well together.
Okay.
Like yeah, it's just I think they're extremely overhyped.
Are they best friends?
Um,
Have they gone for the
actually,
best friend mentality again that all LCO teams seem to be doing?
I only think their bot lane has. Okay, but bot lane's a different story, right? Because like bot lane,
You
you
need
sort of
that as a
have to
bot
have
lane.
good
Yeah.
synergy. Like like Dante Bulldog, Hooper Shinky, Raze Eldoric,
Mm,
that sort of thing, right?
yeah.
You need to have good chemistry there. So that's like understandable, but like I just don't think, and I'm just gonna leave this out here. I'm very very hard stuck bronze. I do not know much about League, but from what I can gather, the playstyle of Mayfarn, and I watched them all last year, and Fido is very different. Like their mid
Okay.
jungle synergy is not great, and then Blue, like I think yesterday Blue had a standout performance.
Mm,
He played
Blue?
extremely well, but that was one in what are we, 7 games?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I kind of like that. Uh,
Interesting, man. Any
yeah.
wrap up comments for you that you want to say? People
Yeah.
to shout out, things you want to say before you go.
yeah, I mean, do you guys have any more questions for me? Because I'm
No, man, we're running
Nah.
out of time, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
sorry,
yeah. We're
sorry,
looking pretty close to
sorry.
the end of it.
I hope I didn't talk too long.
No, you're good.
That was
Yeah,
perfect.
I think okay, I want to put out there that I think the orgs in the scene, LCO and the Oceanic scene, can do way better. So I'll take an example: roster videos, roster announcements, right?
Yeah.
Aside from Chiefs, who actually had a good video. I mean, it was sort of spoiled because Snowball like leaked all their roster beforehand. Aside from us and Chiefs, like the roster announcements were extremely underwhelming. Okay, I got to give credit to
Mm,
GZ because they got kind of screwed over. So the video they put together was fine, but like Direwolves have Decoy Chaz coming back, matching with Praedyth, and you've got Zoranus Poltron, and you've got Valixis or whatever talking into a camera for 2 minutes, and that's their
Yeah.
roster announcement.
yeah.
And you're sitting there, and you're like, man, like what is happening? Like you've got a first place team, and you're gonna have your coach talk into a camera for 2 minutes to announce your gun roster. It's like guys, come on, really? Like
I
that's the
feel
best
that.
you've got. Same as
Mm,
PGG. Like PGG didn't even do a video. They dropped a graphic the day before LCO and we're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're bringing Shanfire back and we've got Appy Violet in the bot lane and
yeah.
blah blah blah. And you're sitting there and you're like, you're backed by an internet provider in Perth. You can't fund out some money to, you can pay these players X amount of money to pull him out of NA and come back here, but you can't drop a fire like roster announcement video. You're gonna drop a graphic. It's just so underwhelming.
When
Like
you hear
it
that, yeah.
really is.
But for Schönfire especially there, like
Oh
if we
yeah,
pick them as the example, Schönfire coming back to OS is a huge thing. That means that there is something happening in
Yeah.
the pro
Potential
scene here.
storyline could have been made there.
Yeah.
oh,
So
100%. Yeah,
do you think it's worth these teams, and just a real quick question before we close it out, is it
yeah,
worth these teams, all teams, investing a little bit more of what they have into providing some more content? Like, let's try and compare it to the LEC, where these teams are all about having good yarns on Twitter,
They're
on
shitting on each
everything.
other, man.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
is there an opportunity for all teams, not just one team, all teams, to come out and say, let's hire a content creator to full time make shit videos, use clips, take photos of the players, get clips and shit? Is that something worth doing?
Yeah, I mean, we did it with our players, right? And the simple thing with like our roster video, like, man, I copyrighted the shit out of that song, right? But I had Morgan Freeman and Metro Boomin in my league roster announcement. Like, how fucking cool is that?
Yeah.
Like, and the simple thing is that because like we got a few Sydney based players and whatever, like we literally like messaged ESL and we're like, hey, for media day, do you mind just pushing the flights back to the next day so we can have time with our team? And that's all they did. They're like, yep, sure, no worries at all. Like, it's fine. And we kept the players here for an extra night and we filmed all the content we needed to there. And like, I mean, the issue with some of the teams, like, I don't think Direwolves could actually pay their video person because, like, Yeah, we know why. But
We
like,
don't. We don't, Macca.
Oh no, well, yeah, they've had some issues paying people in the past.
yeah, that okay. I'm just gonna touch on that very quickly, very very quickly, because I know you
Super
guys want
quick,
to
because
wrap it
then we'll
up.
end it up.
Yeah, yeah. I also don't understand when players go to teams that know they have a bad track record of stuff, right? Like, it's like, guys, we know Peace didn't pay their Worlds roster, but we still have people playing for them. Like, we know Direwolves put out LFTs at the end of Split 1 last year, and I guess we can now assume why, right? Like, you've got these teams that like don't treat their players well, but because they're seen as like a better org, they don't come to orgs. Like people can shit on Mammoth all they want, but Shiv is a great owner. Always pays players. Sure, you can't compare it to the top pays that the Chiefs and everyone else has, but he pays players. He pays them on time. He sorts all the stuff out for them. Like yeah, it's just disappointing to see.
All right, final question.
Sure.
Shady orgs. Name 3, and then you can go.
The
Shady
shadiest.
orgs.
The
Yeah.
shadiest. 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 being the shadiest.
Yeah, number 1 is Peace for sure. Number 2 is Direwolves. Let's just say that their problems aren't just in LCO. Number 3, I don't have a third. Like all the other orgs are like pretty well. It's just I just want to see more from the other orgs.
Okay.
That's
get that.
pretty much it. But yeah, those two are yeah.
From a content standpoint, that resonates with me, and I agree.
Yep.
Do you have anything else to ask the man, Papa Pike, or can
No,
we let him
man.
go and enjoy
I
his
think
night?
let's give him out to the rest of the world. Macca, thank you so much for coming. Now, for all you audio listeners out there, love you to bits. Guys, he did just confirm that we can give Mammoth shit. But let's be really cool about it, right? Like, let's be gentle. Like, if you're gonna fist the guy, at least fist him when he's having a smile. So
Oh, God.
let's go for that one. But no, Macca, thank you so much for coming on. It was an absolute
worries, yeah.
pleasure having you on. We probably will have you back at some point. You've been great to talk to, giving us a lot of insights. If you've got any of
it's
the players, let them know that we'd love to have them on too. We're going to be reaching out to a bunch in the future too. So let us know. Let's try and give Mammoth some good publicity. I think you've done a really good job standing up for them. So thank you so much, man. And we'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you guys. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And if you guys are gonna fist me, just if you swing, I'll swing back harder. So yeah, let's just that's what I want to leave you guys with. But yeah, thanks for having me, fellas. I do appreciate it.
All right, much love, man. Have a good night.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Peace out. Well, that's done, Papa Pike. What do we think about it?
Dude, it was a good, I think for a first interview, I think we crushed it. Not going to lie.
Yeah, man. The dude can talk.
He can talk.
He can talk. I appreciate his candor on some of the stuff.
Yeah.
I like I wish we had more time. I could have pressed him about what he think other teams could have done better and why he thinks the teams are shady, which is a question that only came to me right at the end.
Yeah.
But damn, what do we think?
Look, we learnt a lot is what I'm actually excited for. I think getting an insight into the back of it all is so crucial for this podcast too, because we're not trying to just give an outside point of view of like our thoughts on the games, our thoughts on the scene. It's trying to get thoughts on what's happening in there. So you, the viewer, you, the audio listeners, love you to bits, that you can learn as much as you can so you can appreciate it more too. So getting someone, even for the team that is on the lower bracket, to give his thoughts and his ideas of where his team's at and how they're still actually confident is quite nice to see. Whether they can pull it off though, Corvy, is a whole nother story. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Plus, I always respect a man that not only is he's down, but I respect a man that has faith and trusts the team around him, because he stuck by his guns. He said, "Look, we've been shit on by Twitter. These are the reasons why we've been shit on by Twitter. These are the reasons why we said what we said."
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say sorry about it because I feel like I'm in the right. And I feel like that, I respected that a lot from him. So good on him for coming out here and speaking with candor and just telling us how it is.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
Look, honestly, at the same time as I think, well, we might need to look and reach out to someone from ESL. Maybe we'd Ashlyn as well and just be like, hey, come onto the podcast. Let's just get you going as well. Because I think learning from the ESL side, not just the org side, could be interesting. So, Ashling, if you're hearing this and you are listening, please reach out to me or Corvy. We would love to have you as the head of the LCO and running all this. But yeah, I think he did a bang up job. I think we could have asked questions all night, honestly, because
Yeah,
we
I had so much. I
yeah.
had harder ones that I wanted to ask him too, but I didn't want to be just shitty to the first guest.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't want to go too dark and too deep with it, but again, we'll get to that point. We'll start hitting up people on Twitter about that
Yeah.
sort of stuff too. But I think where are we at now, Corby? Where are we at?
Well, we have a whole bunch of stuff that we wanted to touch on this week, but because we had the interview and we ran over time, we can kind of touch on these next week. So for next week, guys, don't forget, we're going to be talking about the clips from the fans, which you guys have been sending in.
Yep.
Thank you so much. We're talking more about the end of the LCO round robin, going into groups. So we're talking about the peace drama and everything like that as well. We're going to bring up our totals, who's winning, who's losing. Spoiler alert, it's really just not that interesting. But no,
we got to bait them now. We got to bait them.
Oh, it's close. Oh my God.
It's so hectic, guys. Prepare Uranus.
We're going to be talking about what we think about the dire wolves versus peace, and then there's plenty of other topics that we can talk about as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, because this episode's gone longer than we thought with the interview, we'll polish this stone and make it more well-rounded and refined as we go. But is there any comments you want to say before we end the podcast for today, mate?
Nah, man, I think we're pretty good. I think it's nice to keep this going. I think if you guys are enjoying it, we'll keep going harder. Like, we're trying to get more out there for you guys too. So guys, don't forget, send in those clips. If you have interesting tweets or something you'd like for us to maybe talk about too, definitely send those through as well. We'll try and get a couple of our own, but the more people pitching in, the better. Don't forget to you awesome podcast listeners who was actually...
Love you to death.
We love you to death. But it was actually, Macca was a podcast listener. So you are out there. You are alive. We're slowly starting to hear the 3 claps echo throughout Australia and New Zealand. It's phenomenal. So guys, keep up the amazing work. Keep coming back. We're loving giving you as much as we can for that. Yeah, anything from you, Corby, before we end it?
Nah, mate. Just love my audio listeners to death. Not saying that the video listeners... Hi, by the way.
Hello.
See what I'm doing right now?
Yes.
Audio listeners can't see this.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Audio listeners are missing out right now. Wow. That's crazy. Sorry, audio listeners. That's just me and the video listeners. Nothing, man. I'm good. I was really happy how the interview went. First one. Crazy that we got management on the first go. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Caught a big fish. But yeah, anyone else that wants to reach out, feel free. We'll reach out as well. Keen to hear other people's thoughts, stories as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be good to hear from Kanga after that, huh?
Oh yeah, there was some feisty words in that too. I think
he hates Kanga.
Oh, he hates it. We've got some good stuff. We could go to all these teams and be like, well, we spoke with the Macca from Mammoth, and I love that we can start building a little bit of a network between these guys and have some laughs. But so guys, thank you all so much for tuning in for today's episode 4. It will be released this week. But just guys, have a fantastic week. We'll see you all in the LCO. Don't forget to drop by our cheeky little Twitch streams. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all the socials that we have. We will have those links down in the comment, or not in the comments, in the actual description soon. I'm actually going to be trying to write up a bit of a template for us so you can actually have access to everything straight away. But yeah, Corby, let's end it out with a cheeky goodbye simultaneously.
What? Are you going to count down and we're going to just say goodbye?
Is that the
meme?
Are we just going to risk it and just try and do it?
Okay. All right.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Damn, that's way off.
Yeah, that was shit.